Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Coding with T. Today we are going to learn how to create custom shapes in Flutter. Today's tutorial is going to be very useful and very informative, and I am pretty sure that most of the people who are watching, they are going to go through this phase for the first time. So I suggest you to take notes or watch this tutorial step by step till end so you can learn and easily create your own custom shapes as required. So this tutorial is not only related to this our e-commerce application series, but it is also going to be very helpful for everybody for their future projects. So first of all, let's quickly have a look what we are going to achieve. Okay, so our application is running and we are inside the sign in screen. When user is going to click on this sign in, if you are new and you want to watch this complete playlist from the start, you can get the playlist link from the description or from the right top corner. Okay, so this is our home screen that we are going to design step by step, but for today's tutorial we are going to focus on this background, which is the blue background, and you see we have two custom shapes, and then at the bottom down here you see we have a custom rounded edges. So we are going to learn how to create these two shapes along with this custom shape. As you can see, we are creating Flutter e-commerce application, and we have officially started designing our e-commerce application, which is the third section. And in the previous first section we learn how to configure the application, and most people are commenting in the videos that from where I'm getting these theme sizes. So I suggest you to watch the section 1 for this, and in the section 2 we will design the login part, and in today's tutorial or in the section 3 we're going to learn how to design this e-commerce application. So without wasting time, let's get started with the second tutorial of this section 3. Android Studio, and we are inside the project we created for our Flutter e-commerce application. And in the previous tutorial, when you go to this lib folder in the features, again if you're confused with this folder structure, you can watch the folder structure video for that in the section 1. And let's go to the shop. In the screens, we created our first screen, which is the home screen, and as a navigation menu we created a navigation menu which is outside down below over here. And inside the navigation menu, you see in the previous tutorial we added a home screen. Okay, it doesn't matter if you are new or if you are already following the playlist, this tutorial is going to be useful for anybody. So let's go to the home screen, and in the home screen right inside the scaffold, the first thing, as always, we are going to make our design scrollable vertically. So for that we have to use single child scroll view, and in the single child scroll view, because we want to align all the items from top to bottom, so for that we have to create column, and inside the column let's add children of the column. So the first thing, as you can see on your screen, we have to create the header. So for the header, the first thing we are going to design is to create custom shape, which you can see on the blue background. So to achieve that blue background, we are going to use the container property, and in the container we have a color property, and I'm going to use the primary color of our project, which is already a blue color. So let's import T colors, import library, remove this constant. Once the primary color is added, let me show you this color. It's a simple blue color over here. You can see it's added in the T colors, and that class is already defined in the constants. Because it's a static class, so we can directly call T colors dot primary class. Once the color is defined, because we have to align these circles, you can see, to the border side of our application, so we want no padding or zero padding. So we'll use edge insets dot all side and pass the 0 value because we don't want any padding. So for the results, let me just run the application. So our application is running. Let's go to the login, and inside the sign in, click on it, and you can see we are inside our home screen, and down below we have created our navigation bar in the reshape tutorial, and these are simply containers. And the last time we have only created our home screen, which is selected. We are not able to see our primary color or the padding because we don't have anything inside our container. So first of all, we have to create the shapes. So for the shapes, we are going to use the stack widget, and if you don't know what is the stack widget, I suggest you to watch the previous video of Flutter crash course. I'll drop the link in the description. So the stack widget is actually, as you can see on your screen, we need to lay out elements or the containers, or you can see the widgets on top of each other. So to achieve that thing, we need to use the stack widgets, because stack widget allow us to stack elements on top of each other. And in the design, you see we have two shapes, two circular containers that we want to first create inside the container that will be overlapping each other. So for that we need to use the stack, and definitely on top of this container you can see at the top we have a app bar, then we have search bar, categories. So these all things are on the top of this container. So again we need to use the stack to align elements on top of each other. Okay, so as a child of this container we need to use the stack property, and inside the stack we have list of children, because stack has multiple children that we can set on top of each other or we can easily position them. So the first thing we need to create is a circular container. So to create again a circular container, we first need to create a container. This container will have a width and height, and I'm going to give it 400. You can provide anything or any value you like. After that we want to add padding, aginsects.all, and put it 0 because we don't need any space at the sides. After the padding we need to use the decoration property to add circular shape. So use the box decoration, and inside we have a border radius. So we are going to use the border radius dot circular. To make it circular we have to use the 400 because width and height is 400. So to get a complete circle we have to give at least the same of this width and height or more than that. After the border radius we need to add a background color of this. So to add a background color we are going to use the colors property, not the primary but the text white dot with opacity, because we want to merge this color with the background color which is at the top. You can see a primary color. So shape is ready. Let me save it, and you can see a container with the 400 width and height, circular shape, and also the background color which is with the opacity of 0.1, which is not completely white. So in the container, because we need two shapes, we can easily do Ctrl D to duplicate and save it. You can see the color is changed because we have two shapes now on top of each other as we are inside the stack. So this is not the best way or a not good practice. If you see the home screen, these categories background color is also white with the circle, and also definitely we need to use the same circle on multiple other locations. So why not, we need to create a separate widget. So right click on this container, refactor, extract Flutter widget, name it T-circular container, refactor. We don't need this anymore because we want to make it usable throughout our application and it can be used for different purposes. So we don't want to create a widget which is fixed. You see the width and height is fixed, so we cannot reuse it at a location where the width or height is different. So let's say we need a circle container with the 40 width and height, and maybe with some padding, maybe a different color or with a different border radius. So we cannot use that thing. So to make it responsive for other cases, first let me create all the variables here. These variables are definitely, we will assign the values, or the default values can be assigned inside this constructor, and rest values can easily be passed from this widget wherever it has been called. So you can see this question mark, it means that width and height is nullable. If you're going to provide it, it's okay. If you don't want to provide it, that's also fine. And down below I have created a child widget. This also means that if you want to provide any child widget inside this container, you can provide it, but in this case we don't want to provide any child widget in this. So let me just copy it inside this container. At the bottom in the child we are simply going to pass the child property, and inside the constructor let me add all the values. At the top you see I have added a child property, and all the values are without a required keyword. So let's say I want to make this as a required, so I will simply use this required keyword, but in this case we have no keyword which is required. So simply at the top you can see our widget is being used without any error. We didn't pass anything, but we can also pass by pressing Ctrl space. We can pass width, padding, background color, child, height, and radius of this widget, right? So we are not going to pass any of it because we have assigned default width and height of this, default radius, default padding, and default background color. Because we don't want this background color of white, so we are going to only pass the background color over here, which is colors.text white, and it will be dot with opacity of 0.1, and that's it. This is the only property that we want to use. So let me assign all these values down below here. So we have a padding, then we have a decoration in the border radius, background color and child properties, and also we need to remove it from here. Go to the common, inside the widgets I have created another folder which is a custom shapes, and because it's a container custom shape, so in the containers folder create a new file, circular container dot, hit enter. The power of this file is very much, because later on if you want to use the same circular container in other projects, you just have to come over here and copy this file and use it into your other projects. Paste our code, import the colors library, control alt L, and our custom widget is ready. Go to the home dot, import the circular container, and that's it. Press Ctrl D, save the code, and same we have two widgets. And the first thing, because we want to align these widgets on different positions, so for the alignment we have to wrap this widget with the position widget, and as the first one top, I am going to give it -50, so it can easily push upwards or in the minus direction, so it can easily be hidden from the top. And then from the right side I'm going to push it -250. So first of all, let's save the code, and you can see the first shape is going -150 from the top and -250 from the right side. So same, let me position the second one. Okay, so I've added position for the second one. Top is 100, it's not a minus sign, it means that 100 from the top, and right is going to be bit more, which is -300. You can again change these values. So when we are going to save this code, you can see the both shapes are gone, and when we are going to come over here, and you will see the error which is size dot is finite error. I have already defined that error in the readme file down below over here inside the readme. If you download the code, you will get the same error details inside this. Basically, what is the error? The error is size dot is finite. It means that we have already added position to two elements of the stack, and currently stack is completely empty, so it cannot position the stack elements when it is empty. So for that there are two ways. The first main way that we are going to use, you simply have to start adding a column over here, because in the stack we have to add first app bar, then the things like that, and in the children we have to add app bar over here, then we have a search bar, and definitely categories. So because we are not going to create these things at here, we will talk about these in the next video. So for now, when you're going to add these elements, definitely this arrow is automatically will be gone. So for now I'm going to wrap this tag with a size widget to give it some more space. So going to give height as a 400. Let's save the code, and you can see arrow is also gone, and on the right side we have a shape same as we desired. Okay, now let's move to the second main part, which is to curve these bottom edges. So when I am going to add border radius to this container from the bottom, it's not going to turn it the way we want, because it's going to turn it the bottom two edges, but we want a turn from different direction. And also we cannot use another thing, which is to down below in the void section create a container, and we are going to give it the minus spacing to push it little upwards. The reason we are not going to do that is because let's say we have that container which is not covering the full width, and our content is going to be over inside, let's say half of the white our content will be over. Then when we have the background color of that container, it will be only visible till this half section where container will be ended, and the bottom section will easily be read at that it's an empty section. So that's why the best practice is to create a custom shape. Now to create a custom shape in the Flutter, we have to wrap this widget in which the widget we want to apply a custom shape on. We have a widget which is the clip path widget. So first of all, let's wrap this container with the custom widget which is clip path widget, and as a clip path, to create a custom shape we have to pass this clipper property, and when you hover over it, it's a custom clipper. Definitely it's a path property that we are going to design. So to create a custom clipper we have to create a separate class, because it's also going to be reusable. So go to the common inside the widgets, and inside the curved edges, which is another folder I have created. So inside that you have to create a curved edges.dart class. Okay, inside I have simply add an import of material.dart, and down below we have an empty class, and I've named it as T custom curved edges. So we have to extend this class with a custom clipper, and you can see the error message because we have to import two missing overrides. So click on this create two missing overrides. It's going to create get clip method and should reclip method. So should reclip is again something advanced level which we are not going to talk in this tutorial. So for now we are going to create a custom shape, so that's why we have to use this one. And in the should reclip, to avoid any error, we just have to return true, and inside the get clip we are going to create a custom shape. So to create a custom shape you have to follow few steps along with me. To create a custom shape, the first thing we need to create a variable of type path, and we definitely required a path over here because path is going to define the shape. As we required a shape down below over here, so I'm going to divide this shape into 3 parts so you can easily get the understanding what we are going to achieve. Because we want the curve, so the first one is the first curve. You can see we have to create some quadratic Bezier effect from the first curve. Then for the second one we have a single straight line, and then for the third line we have again a curve which is in another direction coming from the right side. So that means that we have to define 3 or 4 points or 3 to 4 curves to achieve our result. So first of all we have created a path. So first thing we need to define in the path is a start point. So path dot line to, inside you see we have to pass x-axis and the y-axis. So x-axis I'm going to start it from the right 0 point. So x is going to be 0 which is horizontal, y is the vertical. So y is going to be size dot height. Now what is this size dot height? Basically this size is the size of the children in which we are going to use this custom widget, which is down below over here. So it's going to provide us the size of this container or whatever the size of this child of this clip path. So this clipper is going to have the, currently in this case, size of our container, right? So size dot height means that going to start from the x-axis as 0, and size dot height means is going to go from top to bottom a complete y-axis height. Now to start creating our design or the custom shape, let's create a variable and I'm going to name it first curve. You can also name it as a points, so first point maybe. So to define the points we have to use the offset because we require x and y axis of the points. So for the x-axis I'm going to again start it from the most left corner because we want to achieve the shape. As you can see, to achieve this shape, currently I'm pointing the x-axis to the 0 means at the left side, and y-axis I'm going to take the size, complete size. Size dot height means it's pointing now at the bottom. Now this is currently taking the complete height, and we don't want to give it a complete height because we want to add a curve. So to create a curve we have to definitely go a little upwards from the bottom. So that's why I have added a height, complete height, pointing at the end, and then minus 20 points. So it's pointing a little top from the bottom. So this is the first curve. Control D to duplicate. Let's name it last curve. You can name it anything, and its starting point is not 0. Let's add 30. I'm going to move in the x-axis direction. I'm going to move it towards the right side. So now the second point is going to be on the 30 axis from the right, and definitely size height is going to be minus 20, so we can easily achieve a curve from the bottom. So now to draw this or to add this inside the path we have already created at the top, which is starting from the 0 covering this complete height. So let's draw the path dot. This time we need to add a curve. So to add a curve we're going to use quadratic Bezier tool, and inside you see we have to pass x-axis of first curve, y-axis of first curve, second x-axis and second y-axis. So let me just create first curve dot dx, which is the x-axis, first curve dot dy, which is the first curve with the second axis, which is this one, and same for the last axis or the second axis, dx, which is 30, and dy, which is minus 20. Now we have completed with the first effect. So let me just return this. So to return this we have to first complete the path dot line 2, and this time to complete the path, because x-axis is going to start from the 0, So we're going to make it size dot width so that it can, when the path is completed, it can easily take the complete width, and also height as 0. So height is coming from bottom to the top. 0 means it's at the starting point, and size dot height is again going to be the complete width and height inside the path. And then you have to do the path dot close, and definitely we have to return this path. So error is gone. Let's go to the home screen, and as a clipper we use the T custom curve edges. Now let's save the code, and you can see at the start of this design we have a little curve that we want to achieve. Now for the rest of this design we will go back to these curved edges. The first curve has been achieved. Now for the second one, let me add the second curve. Same for the second curve, we use the offset property for x and y. The second curve is a straight line that we want to achieve over here. So x-axis is again 0. Size height will be same because we want to push it a little upwards. If you want to increase the curve, you just have to increase this height. So offset is again starting from the 0 where we ended the path. The x-axis is pointing right where we have ended at the top. So x is again pointing to the start point, and size height is going to be the complete height with the -20. So we can keep the height from the bottom. Then for the second curve, in here you have to see that the size is not 0, but the size is complete size dot width, which is the complete size, but I am going to add a -30, which will be space for the last design. So that's why I have added complete width but -30 from the right side. So we can add the third curve as well. For the height, again it's going to be the -20. Now let's save the code. So we have to again add the path dot quadratic Bezier. Let's copy and paste it. This time it's not first curve, it's second curve and second last curve. Let's save the code, and you can see we successfully draw a straight line using this effect. The second line, which is the second last curve, so the last point added with a size dot width -30. So you can see the white space, it's a 30 pixels from the right, so it's ended right before the 30 pixels. Now to create the last curve, let's copy this, create the third first curve, third last curve, and definitely a quadratic Bezier. So how it's going to be end, this time size dot width should be complete because we want a point. Size dot width complete means it's pointing at the end, and then size dot height will remain -20. But at the bottom, a tricky part, it's not a tricky part, but size dot width is going to be the complete width, whatever the width we have. Now it's again pointing to the end, but size dot height is also the complete height because we want to not keep our design -20 but end it. As you see, we have started from the -20 and we want to end it right where we have started. So let's save the code, and you see that we have successfully achieved the same two curves using the curves is the first and the third, straight line is the second one. This was a bit tricky part, but I hope you learned something new. And again, if you definitely learned something new, and if you have any question, you can easily ask me down below in the comments. So this is what we want to achieve in this tutorial, or we desire to achieve in this tutorial. I hope you definitely learned something new. If you learned something new, please don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button and also the bell icon to get notified about all the upcoming videos. And one more thing that we are going to achieve over here in the curved edges, go to home, and down below you see we have the clip path, and we don't want to keep this home screen again growing, but we want a custom shape that can be reused. As you can see, we need to reuse this same design on the profile screen as well. So why not, we can extract this. So in the clip path, I'm going to right click, refactor, and extract it as a Flutter widget. This time I'm going to name it curved edges widget, refactor. So we have a widget over here, but I'm not going to paste a container right in here. The reason I'm going to explain it to you in a minute. So we have a different curve widget, so we can add any type of child to this widget, to this curve design, which is right over here with the clipper. So child can be anything. We don't want to make it a fixed child because in here we required a custom shapes with a circular border, a container with a background color, but in the profile design we need a different approach. So that's why we are not going to use the container over here. So cut it. We will go for a final because we have to pass the widget. So we will add a question mark nullable widget, and in the constructor we have to add a parameter, this dot widget or this dot child, and in the child let's add a child property, and that's it. Now any child can be passed but the design will remain same. And inside the curve edge widget we have to pass our custom child. Let's paste back the code of container, let's save it. Our design is same. We can easily extract this from here, go to curved edges, create curve edges widget, and inside we have pasted our file. So we just have to import it over here. And for our home screen, to keep it again neat and clean, we can easily extract this T curved edges widget as a refactor, create a new Flutter widget, T primary header container refactor, and we have a separate widget over here because we want to code everything inside this. We have already created a stack, and inside the stack we want to add children's, which will be the app bar, which will be categories, and rest of the things will be inside this stack because we want to add all the elements on top of the stack. So that's why we have to create a same thing, which is final widget, name it child. So it cannot be null, so that's why we cannot add a question mark next to this position. Call this child property, and we again have to call this from this header. Now inside this header, as it is required child, so we have to provide a child value. So as a child we need to add column and children's. Press Ctrl Alt L to align the code, add constant at the top. Now we can easily extract this as well. And in the primary header container I have also added a comment. So Ctrl Alt L to align the code. So that's it for this part. Let's go to home.dart, and inside we have to import this T primary header. Let's import it. Also it has been imported. Now inside the column we can easily add the header properties, and also later on we will add all the other elements. So this primary header is going to be the blue header, which you can see on the top. So this area is the primary header for our application, in which we can easily add app bar, categories, and rest of other options. So when you are going to pass the column over here, it is going to remove because column currently have nothing inside it as a child. So let's replace the column to keep the design visible for now. Add a container, let's save the code, and design is visible. So in the next tutorial we are going to start coding from here. If you have any confusion or any questions, you can ask me down below in the comments. If you learn something new, please like the video, and if you are new to this channel, subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified for all the upcoming videos. You can again get the playlist link from the description below. Thank you for watching. Take care. Allah Hafiz.